So let me take everybody behind the scenes of how this works. I have a whiteboard in what's supposed to be my office, but
it's just a whiteboard.
It's just a whiteboard. It's just a whiteboard in the chair right now. Nothing else, and just a bunch of junk. We're still working on it.
It's just a chair.
with a random whiteboard on the wall. And so I write down my notes for what I want to talk about on the pod in the upcoming weeks. Now, behind the scenes,
what kind of madman just sits in a room on a chair scribbling?
That's just, unfortunately, the office isn't done yet, so that's what I gotta work.
Fucking madman. You're a fucking madman.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's another great day to discuss other people's excellence. I'm the unforgettable one himself, Mr. Brett Carroll. Charles is always daydreaming, and if you see that, if we decide to keep the recording,
we won't.
This has been an episode of Life's Philosophy with Brett and Charles.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're just two guys that like BSN at work. We don't have a lot to talk about today, but some major stuff has happened, and two not so major things have happened. But I got a lot to say. So Charles has some. We're gonna say his two-piece real quick, and then I actually got notes, people. I actually got notes. Okay, Charles is usually the one that's prepared. I'm just be winging it. So I wanted to make sure I had everything I wanted to say written down so that I don't talk too long, but I also get everything I need to say off. So go ahead, Charles. You say what you got to say first.
So as you guys know, if you've been listening to the pod the last few weeks, that I've been constantly exposing Brett as the bad guy that he is. Every time the Giants get smacked and embarrassed, he's the first one to call about football or just mention football. We're going, oh, are the Giants losing embarrassingly right now? You don't want to talk about it. And then finally, the Giants win. Not just win, beat a division rival. And the caucasity of his executive privilege. The first thing on the rundown is, are we sleeping on the Eagles? Are we sleeping on the Eagles? The Giants just beat the Eagles. Not only did the Giants beat the Eagles didn't score more than 7 points on the Giants. But are we sleeping on the Eagles? I don't know. If Daniel Jones doesn't throw any touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and less than 200 yards, is somebody go, are we sleeping on Daniel Jones? If Daniel Jones gave the ball away like 3-4 times, are we going, I think we're sleeping on this guy? If the defense can't really stop the Giants, it's just the Giants aren't doing that good still because they just fired their offensive coordinator. Are we sleeping on that team? I want to know, what strain were you smoking when you first thing you typed after Sunday was, are we sleeping on the Eagles? Like, what the fuck?
You ready?
Yeah.
I'm actually glad. That's actually perfect because that's what I was going to say anyway. So let me take everybody behind the scenes of how this works. I have a whiteboard in what's supposed to be my office, but
it's just a whiteboard.
It's just a whiteboard. It's just a whiteboard in the chair right now. Nothing else, and just a bunch of junk. We're still working on it.
It's just a chair.
with a random whiteboard on the wall. And so I write down my notes for what I want to talk about on the pod in the upcoming weeks. Now, behind the scenes,
what kind of madman just sits in a room on a chair scribbling?
That's just, unfortunately, the office isn't done yet, so that's what I gotta work.
Fucking madman. You're a fucking madman.
So I write down the topics and we have our little notes, and I text them to Charles about what I want to talk about. A lot of times we don't get to everything because I'm long-winded, he's long-winded, we get off topic, we BS at work, which is, we're always on brand. You get it. Thank you for tuning into the show. So a lot of times you leave topics on the board because you say to yourself, okay, well, maybe next week we can still talk about it. I mean, either a team has won 2 or 3 in a row, or they lost 2 or 3 in a row. We're going to talk about it. And quite frankly, right when you're about to say, oh, don't worry about it, we'll talk about it next week, something happens that just completely destroys what you were going to talk about. We had a bye week, and half the topics that I was going to talk about on that bye week that we were going to do, I was like, oh, trust me, that's still going to be a thing next Sunday. No, all of them done. I think the Panthers won that week. I think the team that was winning got destroyed that week, and something else happened that week. And I'm just like, okay, great. This Eagles thing was something I was going to talk about last week. They had won 3 out of 4. Jalen Hurts was balling. Now, Charles made a great executive decision. And he said, yo, it's Thanksgiving. Like, fuck, like, what's going on right now? Let's just talk about Thanksgiving shit. And I said, you know what? That makes sense, especially since we were mad busy that week. So by the time we even talked about it, it was like late Wednesday, maybe even Thursday. I can't remember. So we're like, yeah, let's talk about football. Let's just talk about Thanksgiving. As usual, I kept what was on the board because if it was still relevant, we would talk about it next week. Now, to this Giants game that he is talking about. Yes, the Eagles lost. Jalen Hurts probably played the worst game of the season, maybe of his young career.
Definitely of his young career.
Like you said, not only did he throw interceptions, he threw 3 of them. Not 1, not 2, but 3. That second interception he threw was just atrocious. You can't do that. You're down 3-0. You're on the goal line. It's 3 seconds left. He's running around. There's nothing there. He tried to force it in there, and it was a pick, and it was picked off. End of the half. Dude, I understand he's still technically a rookie because I don't think he's even played 17 games yet. But that's a play in high school would get you benched. In college would get you benched, let alone in the NFL. You have got to know in that situation, you throw the ball away, live to kick the chip shot field goal, and go into the half tied 3-0. Instead, he forced it. It got picked off, and they were down 3-0, which, by the way, came back to haunt them because on the final drive of the game, when it was 7-13, it could have easily been 10-13. They were in field goal range, but they had to go for the touchdown because they needed a touchdown to at least tie it. If they hit the extra point, they could have won it. But had they kicked the field goal at halftime like they were supposed to, it might have ended up a different scenario because you can at least kick the field goal and play for overtime. Now, on that final drive, and let me just make sure I have everything. Yep, 3-4 going in Sunday. This third pick, second pick was unacceptable. Okay, got it. On that final drive, 1st and 10 from the 32-yard line or something like that, Jalen Reagor streaking down the end line, hits his freaking helmet and pops up. It almost got intercepted, and that would have ended the game right there.
Great defense.
Yeah, great defense by the Giants.
Defense.
Phenomenal defense by the Giants, letting the dude run right past you, and not even like on a stop and go, on just a regular go route.
Psychological defense. He was never going to make that play.
And he drops. Okay. 2nd and 10 goes by. 3rd and 10 goes by. Now here, I'm watching the game. I'm sitting there on 4th and 10. I said, do not throw this into the end zone because it was going to be like a mini Hail Mary. Not a real Hail Mary because it's only from the 32, but it's still basically a Hail Mary play. We're hoping for a miracle, right?
Rare.
And I'm sitting there and I'm saying, like, bro, they're giving you 10 to 15-yard cushions. Like, take that, get the first down. There was still 25 seconds left. You could have gotten a first down, only taking like 4 or 5 seconds on the clock. It would have still been 20 seconds left. And on 1st and 10, I probably would have done that again. See if they give me the 10 to 15 yards, get another first down. Now it's 1st and goal from inside the 10 with only like 15 seconds left. You probably would legit get another 3 chances at the end zone. And it's a much easier scenario than trying to throw up a 32-yard Hail Mary pass on 4th and 10. But the Eagles went for it. And I'm sitting there saying, no. The play worked. He threw it. And there was a guy wide open in the end zone, went right through his hands, dropped to the ground, game over. And it was the same Jalen Reagor that 2 plays earlier dropped another, would have been walk-off touchdown. And the funny thing about it is when I had the Eagles on my board 2 weeks ago, I was saying then one of the things I wanted to talk about was they have 3 first-round picks. 3, not 1, not 2, but 3. And 2 of them are going to be in the top 10. Matter of fact, let me pull it up real quick.
While you're pulling that up, let me just remind everybody who Jalen Reagor was taken for before in the 2020 draft. The selection right after Jalen Reagor, everybody, is who some of us had as rookie of the year in Justin Jefferson. Not to keep going, or is that a sufficient list of how bad the Eagles fucked up selecting Jalen Reagor where they did?
Oh, I'm gonna get to that. Get to that. As of right now, if the draft were to happen today, and obviously there's much more time left, but if the draft were to happen today, the Eagles would have the 8th and 9th pick in the draft. It's actually funny. It would be Lions, Texans, Jaguars. Then it'll be Jets 4 and 5, Giants 6 and 7, and then Eagles 8 and 9, and then the Panthers at 10. So I kind of hope it ends up that way, because that would be a really ridiculous.
Not for nothing, we might have to go to the city just to experience that chunk of picks over that course of time.
Yeah, it's the 3 local teams just all picking back to back. And it's like, and like I said to the people that sent this to me, I said the sad thing about this is at least one of those teams are still going to get it wrong. One of those teams are going to draft back-to-back busts, and it's going to be insane. So right now, the Eagles have 3, and the Eagles fan that sent me this said, well, if we don't fire our GM, it's going to be us. And I said, yeah, because like you said,
right back at you, challenge accepted.
like you said, the Eagles took Jalen Reagor over Justin Jefferson, over T. Higgins, who was taken in the second round, over Michael Pittman, who was taken in the second round,
Claypool,
over Claypool, who was taken in the second round.
Yeah. Listen, no hate on Jalen Reagor. You actually are a pro, and I don't think you're as hated as Evan Ingram is when it comes to a player that drops the ball all the time. And he almost got an interception in the game, so that's why I bring him up. But look at who was selected after you and where the Eagles are picking. Mind you, as a Giants fan, I'll never forget the feeling of, holy fuck, they're going to get Justin Jefferson. I'm going to have to see Justin Jefferson twice a year in those ugly green jerseys, and then boom, you picked some kid out of TCU. And I'll never forget that, because I was texting with a Vikings fan who was just like, holy shit, no way. Like, he was even like, I don't hate the Eagles. That's cool. He's going there. So I'm not as mad, yada, yada, yada. And then they fall to him, and he should have been rookie of the year, quarterback bias and all. But seeing Jalen Reagor drop that, if for a fan of the Giants, who this is ironically one of our only wins this year is over the Eagles, that's ironic. But every time Daniel Jones is bad or Saquon Barkley is hurt, we got to hear about the selections and how he drafted and all this other shit. And it just feels good that in a win like that, not only did we win, but we got to do that to the Eagles. And now all this bullshit is just being talked about with them. When like what you said, where the fuck is this praise coming from? Why do I have to respect this fucking team? They had a dynasty a couple of years ago. Oh, we have to look out for the Eagles for the next couple of years. And gone. Like, yeah, you were hyping up that bullshit hype train. I remember you, fly, Eagles, fly, all at work all the damn time. Where's that at now? Carson Wentz is doing so good for the Eagles. Oh, wait. MVP my ass. Anyway, there's some other shit that you wanted to talk about besides this garbage ass team.
And I'm not done with this Eagles point. Those first 2 picks, I think they should go defense and or offensive line, depending on who's the best player available. That's what they should do. With that 3rd pick, I think they have to go wide receiver. I think they have to. This team.
So out of their top 3 or their 3 first-round picks, D-line, O-line, whichever one works out to be the more, important pick, I guess. But you definitely think they should go wide receiver. I agree. I don't think any Eagles fans
with that third pick. But here's the one problem with that. Like the quarterback class, this is not the greatest wide receiver class. It's not terrible, but it's like And I think with that depending on where that 3rd pick is, I feel like only one wide receiver will be gone by then, and that would be Garrett Wilson out of Ohio State. He's kind of separated himself from everybody else. But if they get Chris Olave or I can't remember the kid's name from USC. He's still there. If those two guys are still on the board, they have to really consider it. Because again, even before last game, I'm looking at what they got going on. And Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith have a nice little chemistry going on. When they run the ball with Miles Sanders, I don't know why they don't, but when they run the ball with Miles Sanders, they have a nice young running back in Miles Sanders. And I'm looking at the Eagles and I'm saying, wait a minute. And when I said, are we sleeping on them? I didn't, obviously not for this year. But I'm sitting there saying, like, wait, they got 3 picks. If they get it right this draft, this is a team like the Bengals that could kind of make a run maybe next year or 2 years from now. If they have their quarterback of the future, obviously their number 1 wide receiver in Devontae Smith, and then another guy, either Chris Olave or Garrett Wilson or this kid from USC as that second dude. And then, like I said, use those other picks on O-line and defense. Man, they could be scary. They could be scary. And like I said that 2 weeks ago when they were winning. And then when they should have won last week, despite the fact that they played so poorly, and Jalen Reagor dropped not 1, but 2 walk-off touchdowns in the same drive. I said, they got to go wide receiver. They got to go wide receiver. Now the problem is, depending on what that third pick is, here's why I get nervous, especially if I'm an Eagles fan, which thank God I'm not. I would get nervous if the top 2 guys are gone, because now you're really asking your GM, and we're assuming that the GM will still be there because we don't know, right? Now you're asking your GM to once again make a decision on wide receiver, and we know he's not good at that. He kind of lucked into Devontae Smith, although Jalen Waddle is playing well as well. He kind of lucked into Devontae Smith because Devontae Smith was the last guy left, right? Jamar Chase was gone, Waddle was gone, Pitts was gone, and the Eagles kind of took that approach of, we'll trade down, somebody will be available to us, and we'll take whoever that guy is. And because Tua actually had a better relationship with Waddle over Smith, the Dolphins decided to take Waddle over Devontae Smith, who I think is a better overall wide receiver. But it's worked. It's worked for Jalen Hurts. It's worked for the Eagles. But again, Jalen Reagor over all the guys that I just named, all the guys, and it's not even a hindsight thing. If you remember going into that draft, obviously Justin Jefferson, but the T. Higgins of the world, the Michael Pittmans of the world.
They did a reach in a wide receiver heavy draft. They somehow figured out how to do a reach, which is amazing because that draft, like what you said, most of the people we named was late first, early second round. So the fact that we were naming second rounders that we consider just to be better than Justin Jefferson, and like you said, at the time they were considered better than Justin Jefferson, Reagor. Like it goes without saying, but you have a lot of things you want to bring up with the college game right now.
Yeah, and I'm gonna get to that. And I think let me just make sure my notes.
How many Eagles notes do you have? They lost.
No, that's it. I'm done. Like I said, that third pick, they gotta really consider wide receiver, but I'll only do it if only 1 receiver is gone. If 2 or 3 are gone, I wouldn't touch it because I don't. If I'm a GM, sometimes you gotta know your strengths and weaknesses. If I don't trust my scouts and their ability to tell me who's a good wide receiver or not, don't do it. You know what I mean? Just don't do it. Like, figure something else out. If like I said, if only Garrett Wilson is gone and you know for a fact, and that's the one good thing about this draft, we know for a fact who these guys are in terms of pecking order. Okay, Garrett Wilson's gone. Chris Olave or the dude from USC, whichever you like better, pick them. That's it. Don't overthink it. That's it. Don't even try to scout anybody else. These are the 3 guys we're looking at. If those 3 guys are there, we'll pick whoever we think is the best out of those 3. If they're not there, we're not even looking at wide receiver. That's what the Eagles need to do. But that's all I wanted to say about the Eagles. The only thing I want to say NFL-wise before we get into college football, because college football is like really big right now.
Hey, do you have any other pro points? My bad.
Yeah. Staying in Pennsylvania, my Steelers got their ass whooped. I'll admit it. You know what I mean?
What was the score?
It was a lot to a little. That's what the fucking score was. That's what the score.
Who'd you
I
beat?
didn't
Who'd you even play?
like you. We were playing our division rivals in Cincinnati Bungles, and
Oh,
they
the Bungles.
Bungles, and them Bungles gave us a good old fashioned AFC North ass whooping. That's what they did.
They told
I
you
ain't
welcome to
afraid.
the jungle.
I'm not afraid to admit it. They whooped our ass.
It's a
It
new
had
day.
It's a new day for Who Day. That's exactly what the hell they said on Sunday. And because they whooped our ass, here we go with the Steelers fans. Fire Mike Tomlin. It's time for him to go. He sucks. He's overrated. Blah, blah, blah. The standard is standard. Blah, blah, blah. Coach speak. Blah, blah, blah. Hold everybody accountable, but we're going to hold you accountable. Get rid of Mike Tomlin.
Please get rid of Mike Tomlin. I'd like Mike Tomlin on my team.
Here's what I need to tell all those Steelers fans, including my father. We play this stupid game of, oh, let's get rid of him, let's get rid of him. We forget the part. Who are you replacing him with? Fine. You don't like what Mike Tomlin has done? I get it. It's been a decade since he's made over a decade. Well, no, yeah, it's been a decade since he's made a Super Bowl. I get it. He's 8-8 in the playoffs. That's not that great anymore, especially since the last couple of years he's been one and done. Cool. I understand that. We lose to teams we have no business losing to every year. Cool. I understand that. We haven't even been to the AFC Championship game since I think 2015, 2016, I should say. Okay, I understand that. Fine. Get rid of him. Who you bringing in? Give me the name. Don't tell me Bill Belichick, because that's not going to happen. Don't tell me, I don't even know who. Don't tell me John Harbaugh, because that's not going to happen. Who are you bringing in that's going to be better than Mike Tomlin? Because let me tell you something, and it's not just the 8-8. He's never had a losing season shit. Let me tell y'all something. People act like they can do what Mike Tomlin does. They can't. Because let me make sure I got my mother effing notes, because this is the topic I really wrote stuff down, because I wanted to make sure.
Go off, bro. I'm over here like, I hope you fire him. I'm saying as a Giants fan, please fire Mike Tomlin.
Okay, so people think that, oh, being a coach is this, being a coach is that. Okay, fine. Mike Tomlin may not be the best X's and O's guy. Mike Tomlin may not do the greatest in-game adjustments. That's Bill Belichick. He's the strategy guy. He's the X's and O's guy. He's the greatest at figuring, on the fly adjustments in game. That might not be Mike Tomlin's strength. And people are going to say, well, Mike Tomlin's a rah-rah guy, and that's all he is. Cool. You know what Mike Tomlin does better than anybody else? And I mean anybody else, including Bill Belichick? He figures it the fuck out. That's part of being a great coach too. And we don't want to admit that. But that's also part of, you can give him, he's like MacGyver. You can give him a pack of gum, a rubber band, and a paper clip and say, figure it out. He'll figure it out. It might not be pretty. It might not be the way you want it to be done. It might not take as fast as you want it to take, but he will figure it out. Most coaches can't do that. Most coaches, when they lose their quarterback, can't win a game. Most coaches, when they don't have a defense, can't win shit. Most coaches can't do, when this person's out or that person's out, most coaches can't do it. Mike Tomlin has proven over and over and over and over again, no matter how bad the situation is, he will figure it out. Are we winning championships? No. But Steelers fans, I keep trying to tell y'all, we have not had a championship caliber team in a decade. You want to know why we haven't gone to the Super Bowl in a decade? We have not had a championship caliber team in a decade. And don't give me the killer bees. We had no defense. You cannot win without a defense. And now that we have a defense, our offense isn't good. You can't do it. The dude 2 years ago was 0-2 with our Hall of Fame quarterback out in the second game of the season with a blown out elbow. We had Mason goddamn Rudolph, fucking reindeer Rudolph, as our quarterback, and our backup was Duck Hodges. So we had Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and Duck Dynasty as our quarterbacks, and we still went 8-8 after going 0-2. Don't tell me that's not a good coach. Don't tell me somebody else is doing that. Don't do it. Don't do it. You're lying. Who are you going to get better than Mike Tomlin? Oh, well, if we can't get Bill Belichick and if we can't get John Harbaugh or whoever, we'll get one of these young guys. We'll get one of these young hotshot offense coordinators that give me the next Kyle Shanahan. Give me the next Sean McVay. Cool. Question. What fucking titles have any of those guys won? Oh, I'm sorry, none. Oh, no. McVay, doesn't he have like 5 rings? No. Kyle Shanahan? No, he
Shanahan ain't had a winning record, right?
Kyle, no, what? Oh, no, they have to. No, because that's what everybody wants, right? They want the young offensive coordinator with the cool system and everything's all great. Don't those guys win it every year? No, they haven't won one yet. Oh, why is that? I'll tell you why. Because they're the opposite of Mike Tomlin. They are system guys who, if the system isn't working 100% effectively, they cannot win shit. We've seen it over and over and over again. Let the Rams not have an offensive line and can't run the football. They're not winning the game. We've seen it. Let the 49ers lose their starting quarterback or not have a healthy offensive line. They can't win a game. We've seen it. Let even Cliff Kingsbury, let them not have all the pieces that they need. It's hard for them to win. We've seen it.
Cliff Kingsbury, at least, is the one that seems to be like, he's looking more and more legit, but he does have a good team. So
he has a great team. But okay, they're 9-2. This is the most balanced team they've ever had. Before, it was literally Kyler Murray running around in circles, make a play for me, bro. Like, and they weren't winning. They were exciting to watch, but they weren't winning. And so they don't win when the system, the Browns, oh my God, don't let their running backs be out or the offensive line not be as good as they need to be. All of a sudden, they suck, okay? Now, I will say this. I've been complaining that we don't have a number 1 wide receiver and all this other stuff. I will say that you get one of those young offensive coordinators, if the system works properly, we can have good receiving play even with that group. You don't necessarily need a superstar receiver to make that work. Okay, so there's pros and cons to both, right? Let me be fair. But again, that's if the system is working not well, perfectly. It's all about the system. And if the system don't work, they don't know how to win. And because of that, here's something else that they have to do. They're very expensive to maintain. These are expensive systems, bro. You could drive around a hoopty that gets you from A to B and doesn't cause you problems. Or you could have a really souped up car that, oh, all right, I saved all the money to buy the car, but bro, now you got to maintain the car. It don't take the same oil your other car has. It don't take the same gas your other car has. When you need new brakes for this car, the brakes alone cost way more than what your old car was worth, okay? This is a high maintaining system. The Rams don't have number 1 picks because they got to trade from every year for veterans. The 49ers trade for veterans all the time. Like, this is what they have to do to maintain what they're doing. And by the way, none of them have still won a championship, by the way. Very high maintenance system. So it's a system that has to work when it's 100% effective, which is football. It's never going to be 100% effective. Injuries are literally going to happen every year. And then you got to have high priced replacements. This is the Steelers. We don't do that. We don't make these blockbuster trades. We don't sign high-priced free agents. We do everything old school by the draft. Not just because it's old school. We don't have the money that the Stan Kroenkes of the world have.
Fuck.
The Steelers are a mom and pop organization. They're not. Now, granted, yes, I'm talking about multimillionaires. I'm not saying they're poor. But what I'm saying is when you're comparing them to LA and San Francisco in Atlanta or I'm trying or the Arizona and everybody. No, they don't have the same money that those other teams have to just spend like that. To spend on high price free agents and to trade all these draft picks to get high priced veterans, and we don't do that. We do not do that. So you bring in one of those guys, that's not even going to work because you're not even going to be able to give that coach what he needs for his system to be effective. So again, Steelers fans, be careful what you wish for. You get rid of Mike Tomlin, you better pray you get it right. And my dad did make a good point. Like, well, who was Bill Cowher before they found him? Who was Chuck Noll? Who was Mike Tomlin? Cool. I'll give you that. The Steelers have found a way to find the guy for the next generation every single time. Okay, they're 3 for 3. You better pray that they're 4 for 4. You better pray. You better pray that they're going to find some hot shot, no name probably defensive coordinator who's going to be the new guy. You got to pray that that's it. And I don't think that's going to happen because the way we play football and the way we run our organization, people don't just do that anymore. I think that's the problem with the Steelers now. The Bengals have whooped our ass 3 straight games. You know why? Because Juju Smith-Schuster is dancing on their damn logo and disrespecting them. This ain't the Marvin Lewis Bengals. This is a new team.
So I found the list of teams, NFL teams by net worth. Do you want to know where the Steelers rank in that?
Sure, go ahead. I'm sure we're up there.
Where do you think the Steelers rank among all the teams in the NFL? Mr. Mom and Pop Shop.
We might be top 5 because of the Steelers brand, but what I'm saying is...
So wait, hold on. Before I actually tell you, if you say you might be top 5, you understand that you can't say you're a mom and pop shop and you can't afford it like the other teams.
Okay, but this is what I'm trying to get you to understand. Understand how these owners work, right? Stan Kroenke is a multi-billionaire who just happens to own a team. That team is his plaything, right?
Uh-huh.
The Steelers, literally, I would be willing to bet the Steelers franchise is part of the main business of the Rooneys. Obviously, they have another business. That's how they bought the team. That's how their family bought the team in the first place. But
okay, just for clarity, the Steelers are 14th, and this is from this year, August 2021.
Oh, they're 14th? Oh, I thought they were top 5.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm calling you out on your own bullshit. And their operating income is $24.5 million. Just to say what the list says, one up, so 13th overall, is the Green Bay Packers. And their operating income, negative $33.5 million. That's just crazy. You know what I mean? Like negative. The Seahawks, 12, negative operating income. The Texans, 11, negative operating income. The Eagles, 9, negative operating income. The Bears, 7, negative operating income. The Niners, 6, negative $45.4 million. Ridiculous. And then, the top 5, the Giants, negative operating income of $12.5 million. Only one of the top 5 with a negative operating income. Even the fucking Washington football team is making money. So, but yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Like some of these owners, their bankroll is bigger. Like that's the difference between like a Steve Ballmer and a Michael Jordan. You know what I mean? Like Michael Jordan has $1 billion. Steve Ballmer has like 40 billion. That's a huge difference.
And I'm just curious. And now people are gonna be like, so what are the net worths? Steve Ballmer net worth.
Yeah, I mean, Steve Ballmer is one of the people at
105 billion.
Okay, I said 40. He's 100. He has 105. That's what I'm saying. Like there's a difference. So the Clippers can go all
Michael
out.
Jordan's 1.6 billion. Good Lord, man.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. And that's what I'm saying. The Clippers can go all out and get free agents and pay the luxury tax and everything. Michael Jordan can't do that. Even if you wanted to, you can't do that. That's what I'm saying. It's different for different teams. I honestly thought the Steelers would be top 5 because they have the national audience. They are one of the biggest brands, not just in football, but in sports. But okay, 14, that makes sense too. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm saying. It really is mom and pop. A lot of the NFL is mom and pop too. Like more than any other league, I would think. Like they're
what's well, I don't know how baseball's ran, so I don't want to
maybe not baseball, but way more than the NBA for sure.
But I have a real question. And this is actually a good segue because I've been wanting to ask you it.
Yeah.
So I don't pretend to act like I watch college football religiously every Saturday. I don't pretend to act like I know all the movements of the coaches or the inner politics between the conferences. None of that bullshit. I don't pretend to know any of it. But I do know that the college football season isn't over yet. And I was getting notifications that the Sooners head coach went to USC. Obviously, this is news. And I look at the rankings. Oklahoma is 13, 10-2. They just lost one game. What the hell is going on?
Yeah. So two major stories, and they're very similar to each other. Lincoln Riley to USC, Brian Kelly to LSU. I'm going to break down the Lincoln Riley thing first.
Yeah, I'm talking about Lincoln Riley. My bad.
Yeah. And Bart and Hahn said this yesterday, and Bart Scott made a great point. Like, yo, if we're gonna do this, if we're saying it's okay for a coach to leave a team literally before they even know what bowl game they're in. By the way, Notre Dame to me is even worse. Notre Dame can actually make the playoffs. They need some help. Yeah, obviously.
And he left for LSU.
Yeah, Alabama needs to lose. Michigan probably has to lose, and Cincinnati has to lose. But all for the first time in like forever, in almost 100 games, Alabama's not even favored. It's like the first time in 93 games. That's supposed to happen. Michigan can always get upset. Iowa's not a bad team, and Cincinnati, like, they haven't been blowing teams out all year. They could get upset. So Brian Kelly left Notre Dame, and they might be in the college football playoffs depending on what happens.
And Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma, I just hearing some of his numbers. It's something crazy. He's like he got the most points per game in college football over the last 40 years or 40 games, not 40 years, 40 games. He's only been there for 7 years. Riley is a combined 55-10 in 5 seasons at Oklahoma, including a 37-7 Big 12 record and a 1-3 bowl record. Prior to the COVID-19 2020 season, the Sooners never lost more than once during the regular season under Lincoln Riley. So it's a big pickup for USC. By the
way, the 55 wins is tied for third most all time in somebody's first 5 years of coaching.
Yeah, and isn't it the most for Oklahoma?
It's tied for the most with Bob Stoops, ironically, the guy that he replaced. And Bob Stoops will be coaching Oklahoma for their bowl game. So here's just a break. And Bart Scott made a great point. If we're going to allow coaches to do this, we should never, and I mean ever, complain when a kid who's about to go to the NFL says, I'm not playing the bowl game. Because if we're setting this precedent that it's not about the team anymore, it's about the individuals, and we're going to do what's best for us, screw the team at the end of the day. Stop killing these players for doing that.
Man, go the next step. Stop killing the players every chance you get. I saw this, and my first thought was similar to what you said, so I'm piggybacking. I don't disagree at all. But, and I guess to show my cards politically, I don't think the manager should be able to do that level of shit, and the workers shouldn't. So you're going to criticize the workers for picking a better situation middle of the year sometimes and going, I'd rather work over here. And now you're going to say, well, they're not workers, they're not professionals, they're amateurs, yada, yada, yada. This isn't amateur money we're talking about. So you're telling me that if a kid, and just in any other profession that's not sports, if you transfer colleges in the middle of the year, you can just do it. Like, if you want to go from Oklahoma to USC and you're majoring in political science or engineering, you can just do it. Just go. And no one's going to tell you, oh, that's illegal. You can't go to class and do anything in that state because you were doing something in the other state. That sounds insane. But when it comes to college football, this was not even a quarterback. A kicker was leaving the college weeks before the bowl game started. He wouldn't be able to play. They wouldn't be celebrated. He'd be quitting on the team. This is not what you signed up for. You're setting a terrible example in the locker room, all this other shit, holding children, essentially. Because, sorry, they're young men at most. They're still kids at least. Like, holding kids to higher standards than these grown-ass men making ungodly sorts of money, sometimes from the state. It's literally state money that they're getting paid.
And by the way, speaking of that, Brian Kelly's making $95 million. Lincoln Riley's making over 100. Lincoln Riley, USC's about to pay for both his houses in Oklahoma with $500,000 over what they're worth, and they're going to buy him a new house in LA, and he gets private jet privileges whenever he wants for his family.
And I just want a down payment on a house, bro. I was just a college student at one point. If you coach a college sport, apparently you get everything in the world. Not every sport, we know that. I'm just kidding.
Right. And by the way, the money aside, here's the funny thing about this, right? So Lincoln Riley did some interviews, and he said, "Well, to me, here's where to me it just doesn't even sound right." According to him, he got the call like literally right after the Oklahoma State game, which they lost, and the next morning he woke up and was like, "Yeah, let's do this." And I'm like, "Wow!" So you made a decision that big, that fast. And he also says it's the first time he's ever been even approached to coach somewhere else. I'm like, so nobody's ever called you for another job. Not the Cowboys, not the Cardinals, not nobody. Nobody's ever called you for another job. Okay. Interesting.
Nah, hold on. I just gotta say right there, and this I'm just being 100 because I think I watched the Hurd interview. So if you watched the Hurd interview, you heard what I heard too when it comes to Bob Stoops, and he said that. And this is why I was thinking to myself before we came on here, why the fuck am I even bothering listening to this guy talk? Because both of those bullshit. Because everything that's in those contracts are so specific that it would take more than the time you said to think that you actually thought about it just to actually say all these terms and agree to them if you're having a conversation with your family. Like uprooting entire lives of it. Like his kid was born in Oklahoma. He has 2 kids. There's a lot of things to decide. Don't get me wrong. Somebody's throwing the bag at you and your family and it works so well, you're going to do it. But at the same time, it's the same shady college football bullshit that they just feed us and expect us to believe because we're the stupid public. And football is so complicated, we just can't understand all the inner machinations and inner workings of the sport.
And by the way, nobody's ever approached you for a job, but yet Saturday night, you were getting pissed because they were talking about rumors of you going to LSU. And so you weren't lying about that. You went to USC and not LSU. But those rumors came from nowhere. Like you never got a call about LSU either. Like, come on, man, stop it. So that's the only bullshit I have for that.
Tons of bullshit, bro. Tons.
And here's the thing. To me, I look at this as a lateral move. I really do. OU is a top job in college football, and I'm a Sooners fan. You can call me biased all you want. OU is a top job. The only reason why I might put USC over LSU, over Oklahoma, is because of the NIL factor and the fact that it's LA. Other than that, I'm sorry. If you're taking everything into account, the history, the blue chipness of it all, and relevancy now, I'm sorry, Oklahoma's a better job than USC.
Yeah, I first thought it was a step up as a casual. I mean, completely as a casual. But even then I thought, I was just like, but it's Oklahoma. Like I kept coming back to, it's kind of like, even if the Longhorns job, that's still a top job. Again, I know it's more history than right now, but we just read off the stats of right now. The Sooners are good. It doesn't even make any damn sense. And I get you might want to do your own legacy. I understand that the most. If that you just like, I don't like riding with Bob Stoops light. Like I'm forever the Bob Stoops inherited, and I'm never going to get my own credit. I can understand that part of it, but at the same time, you just did this on a whim. Is what you're telling me is the truth. You're telling me that you got a call, you said yes, and now you're there. You abandon your team after the very first phone call you got is the truth that you want me to accept.
Right.
And then I'm the bad guy now if I question your judgment on anything, because that makes less sense than telling the truth that you're always getting courted. And this one just you actually like the deal. It was too good.
And not only always getting courted, let's be real, you did not want to be in the SEC. It's just that simple. That's why you left. Because again, the USC thing is a lateral at best move. It might even be a downgrade if you can't recruit well and while you're there. So you didn't want to be in the SEC, which I get. The SEC is hard. The SEC is hard. You're going to be in the West. You got to compete with Nick Saban, and you got to compete with Jimbo Fisher, and you got to compete with Kirby Smart, and you got to sit there and you got move all around the country because you have to go to the depths. You got to go to the depths of Alabama and the depths of Louisiana and the depths of Mississippi and the depths of the Carolinas and the depths of Georgia.
And now you're just worrying about Stanford and Oregon.
Right. And with USC, and I'm gonna get to this in a second because this might be a pro, it might be a con. All you gotta do is recruit California, and California it's in itself a hotbed.
Well,
So
to be fair, me and you often talk about why can't Rutgers just recruit New Jersey and we could be more competitive. So the idea that you're just going to turn the Trojans into a Cali football team, I'm from Jersey. I like that idea. Like,
and that's what I'm going to get to, because it's a pro because it's a little bit easier. It's a con because, especially at USC, he has to do that. He has to do that. Even more than Oklahoma and Texas.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
Well, no. But here's what I mean by that. Oklahoma and Texas, yeah, they want you to keep, and I think it's more Texas and Oklahoma. They want you to keep the Texas kids. Like, it's not one thing to be good. You need to be good with the local kids, right? But even then, I think you have a lot more room for other things. Not at USC, bro. Not at USC. It's one thing to be good. We talked about this on the pod. Like it might have been our second ever pod this season, with the Mike Tomlin rumors about USC and everything else. It's one thing to be good, but you got to be sexy and good, and you have to be sexy good with local California kids. And it makes sense. It's LA. There's
local kids and kids that like Hawaiian, Samoan, all the Pacific Islander kids.
Basically all the West Coast. It's got to be all West Coast kids, because there's a lot to do in LA. There's a lot to do on a Saturday afternoon, Saturday night. If you want people to really show up, not only do you have to be good, not only do you have to be winning, but you got to do it with people that these guys grew up watching in high school. Because they follow football is big in California. They follow it. They follow high school football. They follow college football. So that you got to have the local guy be the face of it. Not necessarily with Oklahoma and Texas. Like, they just want you to be good. If you're doing it with Texans and Oklahomans as the face of your franchise, then obviously that's a cherry on top. But they live, breathe, and the football is religion down there. If you're good, they don't care who is running it. They'll watch.
And USC is different, because I remember when Reggie Bush, and I just wanted to check on the year so I can kind of get the right year of high school that I was thinking about. But I was like a freshman, sophomore when Reggie Bush was at the top of college football. And when he was getting with Kim Kardashian before she was a household name. He became a superstar overnight. He in USC was everything you said. To a high school kid, USC looked like, I can't imagine that environment at 14 years old. And to think that it's like a 3, 4, 5 year difference away from these ages, and the experiences going from, in some cases, small town California to the equivalent of Hollywood in sports. And USC is that. So it's a lateral move in the sense that OSU is good football without the bullshit. And then you're inheriting all the bullshit without necessarily good football in the current state of USC. Because USC and UCLA, even when they're bad, gets ratings and national ratings. Not even, because me and you have stopped and watched that game in the last couple of years, and it's not like we had any type of emotional investment in that rivalry. So it's interesting. But the timing pisses me off. Like, I'd be cool with this if the bowl games were happening, these teams were not in the bowl, and they were just making their moves for the future. Cool. Like, everybody's over. But the season's not even over, and y'all dipped on your team.
Yeah, well, here's the problem with that, right? The problem is, and they talked about this, the problem is, because of the way recruiting schedule is, you got to make these decisions now. And even if it was, I'm going to go, I'm not going to sign nothing until after the bowl season, it's going to leak out anyway. So now you got a team that knows you're not even all in with them. So it's better to just leave now than to kick the can down the road. But at the end of the day, like I said, my own thing's fine, but then don't get mad when these kids do it. Don't sit there and be a hypocrite and say, oh, it's all about the team. But then when you have an opportunity, you leave. Even like I said, in Notre Dame's case, you can literally be waiting to be in the college football playoff. And the Oklahoma situation, their season is basically done. No, like Oklahoma, like Alabama, they don't care about playing the Sugar Bowl or something. They want to play in the college football playoff.
Yeah.
So I understand.
And no disrespect, because we and you do watch those other bowls, so it's kind of weird. Because no one cares, but I barely watch, and I watch those no one cares bowls. So
Right, and it's one like so. Yeah, Oklahoma could still probably be in the New Year's Six Bowl, but they had championship aspirations, so that's a letdown for a lot of those kids. And and
Chick-fil-A Bowl, bro. That's where it's at.
I just think Lincoln Riley just did not want to be in the SEC. SEC. Brian Kelly, however, he took on the challenge. He said he was in a very similar situation with OU. And last thing about Lincoln Riley with USC, I get it. Instead of being in the SEC, I can dominate the Pac-12. I'll win the Pac-12 South every year for sure. Maybe out of his Oregon or Stanford in the Pac-12 championship game every year. If we beat them, we most likely will go to the college football playoff, and we'll probably get stomped in the first round. But still, from where USC was to where I'm about to take them, I'll be a legend, right? And it's interesting because Brian Kelly was in the same position at Notre Dame that Lincoln Riley was at OU. Notre Dame, independent, good every year. We'll make the playoffs every now and again. They made it to the college football final one year, got stomped. Or the championship game got stopped with Matau whatever his name was. The dude,
Manti Te'o.
Yeah, Manti Te'o. That's his name. The dude that got catfished as a cat jumps on your lap. What's up, Sasha? And it's funny. He's probably like Lincoln Riley would be in another decade from now. Like, bro, I'm tired of just making the playoffs. And I want to try to win. I'm gonna take on that challenge. So for him to go to LSU and say, I want to be in the SEC, I want to compete on the recruiting trail and get the best of the best, and have to go through Alabama every year just to make it to the college football playoffs. To me, that shows a lot of heart, because that's hard to do, especially when, again, where he was at Notre Dame, he could do that for the rest of his life. He's already a hero for turning around Notre Dame. And I think, like I said, but he was at Notre Dame for 12 years. Lincoln Riley was only at Oklahoma for 5.
Well, he's been at Notre Dame since the Sandusky scandal.
Yeah, just about. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So he kind of had his fill of just being good. Like, he took on a challenge. Now, to me, I think it's interesting only with him because Brian Kelly's a hell of a coach. And I mean, Duke can coach his ass off. And he's a winner. He's proven everywhere he went. LSU, to me, is just such a weird fit for him because
I don't get the move. Like, for everything you said, man, I just, that's the lateral move to me. Like, you have your college football legacy. They're there. Just keep playing this season. If Notre Dame was to win, and I don't mean win the whole thing, but if they make the college football playoffs and ball the fuck out, there's a whole nother generation of Midwest kids that are most likely going to go to that school.
Well, but I could see for him, again, he's been in for 12 years, of wanting that new challenge and wanting a chance to make that upgrade, and I commend him for it. I just find it weird because LSU's just a weird state, man. They had Les Miles eating the grass, and he was the Mad Hatter and everything else. Then you had Ed Ogeron, who sounded like a Pokemon. You couldn't even understand what he said, and the only thing you could hear him, the only thing you could understand him saying was "Go Tigers, go Tigers." That's all he said. And now you're getting
Tigers.
And then you're going with Brian Kelly, who, he looks like he belongs in Boston or Notre Dame than LSU. I just don't know how is he going to relate.
Boston.
No, seriously, he looks like he would be coaching the Celtics, not the Louisiana State Tigers. And so for me, is how is he going to relate to these kids? His resume is solid for sure, but LSU, you got to have a little bit more swag to you. Now, you could say Nick Saban won there.
But you literally, your whole argument for Kelly is he ain't got enough swag to coach LSU.
No, seriously, there's a charisma you have to have at LSU.
Yeah, you're just saying the same thing again.
Okay. He don't got it. I just think I'm not saying he can't do it. And Ryan Clark, who's from Louisiana and who went to LSU, he already made the joke like, look, man, we get it. His food gonna be bland as hell. If he wins, we won't care. We'll season his food for him. And there's been so many jokes on Twitter of him they have him smiling at a restaurant in New Orleans. I'll take a poor boy sandwich, please. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's
hold,
already
hold the spices.
hold the spices, and it's po' boy, but he's saying a poor boy sandwich, please. And so the jokes are already there because it's the most awkward fit I think I've ever seen in my life. Brian Kelly, who again, he's Notre
One
Dame.
poor boy, hold the cheese, and please don't make it spicy.
The Ben Gaze or Ben whatever. Yeah, can you relax on can you relax on the powder whatever that thing is? I don't want to smoke crack. I just want dessert. So that
what is a grit?
Like, why are you throwing beads at me? I'm confused. But like,
oh my god, that woman is on clothing herself.
But it's funny because I thought he was the perfect fit for Notre Dame, and I just think he's just a fish out of water with LSU. But again, the man can coach. If it was any other team, I would say, yo, that's a brilliant hire. I just don't know if he's going to be able to recruit because I just don't know if he's going to relate to those kids. I just don't. If he can, I think they're going to win. I really do. I think now I'll put it this way: if he would have went to Oklahoma, I would say, oh, that's a brilliant hire. That's perfect. LSU, that's going to be interesting. And what's next for Oklahoma? I don't know. They're talking about Cliff Kingsbury. I don't see how Cliff Kingsbury leaves unless the Cardinals just completely collapse this year. I just don't see why he would leave the Cardinals when he's finally got that thing going. That's silly. To me, Dabo might want to consider Oklahoma. Again, when I think of top 10 jobs in college football, Clemson's not one of them. Let me be very clear. Clemson was a run-of-the-mill, regular-ass school before Dabo got there. He's made them a powerhouse, but something tells me if he leaves...
Deshaun Watson and them boys, as some people would say.
I mean, you know, if you're Dabo, Oklahoma might sound really good. That's a step up. I had to write it down because I'm like, because again, Notre Dame's a top job, LSU's a top job, Oklahoma's a top job, USC's a top job, which is another thing that's weird. I don't think we've ever seen this where like coaches are basically making these lateral movements. It's usually a guy going for like, so again, for Notre Dame, a lot of people saying Luke Fickell, who's at Cincinnati, who beat Notre Dame. That would be a step up. We're going from Cincinnati to Notre Dame. Yeah, that makes sense. That's usually what you see. And if you see a guy at a top program, they're only leaving for the NFL. Because where are you going to go when you're already coaching LSU or Alabama or Texas or whatever? You know what I mean? Like, that's weird. So I just wrote down the top 10 football jams. I got Alabama and Ohio State. I think they're a tier above everybody else. Maybe not head and shoulders over everybody else, but head and neck over everybody else. Then I got USC, Oklahoma in that order. And at 5, I have Notre Dame. The more I think about it, Notre Dame plays nationally every single week on NBC.
Yeah, I'm not even a Notre Dame fan. I just don't.
I hate Notre Dame, but you got to admit, Notre Dame's a top job in college football. Then I have...
So pretty much Brian Kelly said the Tigers' job is too good to pass up. Well, obviously. He signed a 10-year, $95 million contract.
Yeah, that was too good to pass up. Exactly. Yeah, that. But I give it to him. That's a major challenge, bro. Because like I said, you're having a harder. Well, and some people say it's not as hard now because he doesn't have to have the academic standards that Notre Dame handcuffed him to. Okay, true. But even if you can relate to the kids, you're still competing directly now with Nick Saban, Kirby Smart, Jimbo Fisher, whoever else, Dabo, because Dabo gets a lot of...
You know what's funny? And we got to wrap it up soon, but I just had an epiphany. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's not only because of the bag, 10 million, 10 years, 95 million, that's good guaranteed money, guys. So I'm no hating on that. But from a football standpoint, like we're trying to talk about, maybe that's what he wants. Maybe he feels like I'm not getting the respect I deserve here at Notre Dame, not from the Notre Dame fans, from college football fans. And if I go here, I can kick all these guys' asses on a regular basis and prove I'm the best. Because we do forget sometimes that the coaches do think like that. They literally think they know better than everyone else.
That's what I'm saying. It's mad respect for me because that's some kahunas to, again, he had a great job where he was. So no, I'm gonna get in the mud. I'm gonna figure it out. When Lincoln Riley said, hell no, I'm going back to a cushy job. Like I said, I really just think Lincoln Riley said, "Yo, I had a good thing here with the Big 12. I don't want to go to SEC." Like,
Kelly left Notre Dame as the winningest head coach in program history with 113 wins in 12 seasons, including vacated wins.
yep,
That's crazy. That's a great honor.
that's a great one, and that's what I'm saying. Like I much respect to Brian Kelly, bro. Seriously, because that is a shocker to me. Lincoln Riley bolting right when they go to the SEC. I'm like, okay, that tells me who you are. But again,
Low key, Brett's a UCLA fan now. Low key, he's gonna start cheering for UCLA hard.
well, listen, like I said, I get it. I get it. He's like, bro, what the hell? I because here's my theory. My theory is Texas wanted to leave the Big 12 for SEC, and Oklahoma realized if Texas leaves, there's no point of us staying, so we have to leave. I don't think anybody at Oklahoma wanted to leave, especially Lincoln Riley. They ran the Big 12. Like, why would you leave that? Like, that's stupid. You know what I mean? But so real quick, I just said my top five. The rest of these were kind of hard because it's depending on who you ask. I got LSU 6, Texas 7. Then the rest of these 8 through 12 are all question marks because to me, I think you could interchange them from wherever. I got FSU, Florida State, Miami, Georgia, Michigan, Florida. Like to me, those are the top 12 jobs in college football, and you could kind of interchange.
Miami's probably on the bottom of the list these days because that's one where it's a location thing more than
who
Miami. You said,
yeah. The reason why I said Miami because they do have the history, and it's hard. See, and that's the thing. It's hard for me because you got to consider everything. Like especially nowadays, like these kids don't care what you did in the 80s and 90s. Like their parents were probably out of.
Well, I know you were a little bit younger, but there was a more recent successful Miami team in the 80s.
No. I'm not just talking about just Miami. I'm talking.
Okay. I was like, how, bro?
No. I'm talking about all. But that's why I said But that's why Miami was 9 because I remember in the early 2000s they were still good.
Beast ass team.
But my point is if you're, some of these schools like Texas hasn't been relevant since Vince Young was there. USC hasn't been relevant since Pete Carroll was there. Michigan, I mean, if they didn't win on Saturday against Ohio State, congratulations, Jim Harbaugh, for finally getting that monkey off your back. There's some schools that like swear they're still creme de la creme, and it's like, are you really?
Well, Michigan's different because they're literally just trying to be the best Michigan team ever. So Harbaugh, I don't know. I'm also a Harbaugh fan. I really do like him as a coach. I just feel like he gives a shit about his team, if that makes any sense.
No, absolutely. And I thought about Penn State, but I'm like, I feel like that. I really feel like the Joe Paterno scandal really. I don't know if that's and I looked at it like if I'm a coach, if I'm a coach and I could get any job in the world, what job would I besides Rutgers or OU? Because obviously that's my personal bias. But if any school say, yo, we think you're the best coach, we're gonna give you a blank check, where would I go? And I honestly. Some of these schools, I'm like, yeah, I feel like some of y'all are living off of your history and you're not that good now. And Michigan's one of them. Like, they're okay. Like, they're good, but like, like you can't even beat Ohio State. Like, Ohio State runs the Big Ten. Like, Texas, again, you have some muscles to flex because you have your own channel. Like it's not the Big 12 channel, it's the Longhorns network. That's wild. So you've already proven that y'all are who you think you are, even though you haven't been good in a long time. Notre Dame, same thing. So it's and that's why I put those schools definitely in the top 7. Some of these other schools where you can't really say that, it's like
Miami. I don't know why I was mixing up Kelly for somebody else after Paterno when it came to Penn State. So that's my bad earlier because I don't want to get sued by anybody for even saying the name Paterno the wrong way. Like, so my bad.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. Oklahoma, I'm hoping they get a great coach. Because they're in the SEC now. I would think somebody would want to go Oklahoma. I mean, again, to me, that's still a blue chip. That's still one of the best jobs in college football. Like I said, I think they should go after Dabo. I think Dabo would take that. His teams, and it would be the perfect time for him to jump. Clemson's not as good as they once were. Caleb Williams, I think is still at Oklahoma, and he was only a true freshman this year. He was a beast.
You know who could take the Oklahoma job?
Who?
A NFL coach that just decides to leave a situation or gets fired too early. Named Urban Meyer.
Yeah. He already said he doesn't want to do it. I believe him.
I always believe coaches.
No. The only reason why I believe him is because I think his ego won't let him leave after 1 year.
No, I don't think it'd be his ego. His ego. I think it will be him getting his ass fired.
Well, if he gets fired, yes, I think he's definitely going to take the Oklahoma job. But if he doesn't get fired, I think he's going to want to try to make that work in Jacksonville. I do think his ego would want him to, you know what I mean? Like, would not want to walk away from that. Although I do think he's a better college coach than a pro coach, but that's just me. I'll take Urban Meyer as an Oklahoma fan. Like, as much as I don't like him personally, the man can coach and he can recruit. I'm like, please come to Oklahoma.
Yeah.
So,
all right, bro. Anything else?
Nah, that's it. We're good.
Get all those notes you had. All right, tell them where they can find you, bro.
They can find me at Never For Brett Me, NEVA_4 BRETT_ME on Instagram and Twitter.
And if you're watching this, you saw me chuck my cat off at least 2 or 3 times, and she just jumped right back up. She's been purring in my lap this whole time. So if you're watching and you're wondering why I keep turning, it's just strategic because she's literally just purring up against me, say, for most of this time. So yeah. But you can find me at Not the Chuck D, Instagram, Twitter, and all the socials. We're at _dope blog on Instagram, at the dope blog, all one word, on Twitter, www.thedope.blog. You can find all our stuff at.
And if you're watching this on YouTube, please like, share, and subscribe. We really appreciate it. We love you guys, and join us next time as we continue to discuss other people's excellence.
Unless we leave the pod midway through and just decide the other one can finish the rest of the season.
Oh, listen, I'm telling you right now, let a major network call me and give me the bag. They're like, hey, Charles, I don't care if we're mid-recording. I will turn this laptop off and be like, yeah, I'm out.
I'll sell you right now for some cheese fries.
Right. They're trying to give me a new house, Charles. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm trying to get a house.
Right. I already know Charles will leave in a heartbeat. Let somebody write him a blank check. I will never even hear from him.
Gone. Oh, he's not going to sell this. Oh, bye.
The dope blog. Yeah, I remember that.
I remember when I sold that. I hope I'm a blurb one day. Like, can you believe this only sold for this much? Yup.
Sure did.
This island's really nice. I'll talk to you later, bro.
Deuces.